Have you ever wondered why you keep breaking down, even when nothing seems wrong? You wake up, you go to work, you keep moving, yet inside something quietly collapses. There's no visible reason, no catastrophe, no loss. Just that heavy, invisible weight pressing against your chest. What if you were never broken? Only divided? You smile. You function. You perform. You meet expectations. You make them proud. But when the noise fades and the night gets quiet, there's a silence that no achievement can fill. A strange emptiness that hums beneath your skin, whispering that something is missing. You've spent years calling it weakness. You've labeled it depression, burnout, maybe even failure. But what if it was none of those things? What if that emptiness was not the absence of strength, but the echo of the part of you that you left behind? You weren't weak. You were split in two, between the person you truly are and the version you had to become just to survive. And that division, that fracture between your truth and your survival, is the quiet origin of every anxiety, every loneliness, every breakdown you've ever had. This video isn't about fixing you. It's about remembering you. Because the moment you understand what really happened inside you, you will never look at your pain or your past the same way again. So stay with me until the end. Let's dive deep, beyond the noise, beyond the mask, and face what you've been running from all your life. By the time we finish, you'll understand why you were never broken, only divided, and how to become whole again. If this message already touches something in you, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you'll be the first to know when I release the next piece that might just change how you see yourself forever. From the moment you were born, you began learning how to disappear. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You learned which parts of you were too much, which emotions made people uncomfortable, and which truths were better left unspoken. You learned that being loved meant being easy, that being accepted meant being quiet, that being good meant betraying yourself a little every day. Every time someone rolled their eyes when you cried, every time they told you to toughen up, every time you swallowed your anger to keep the peace, a small part of you stepped back into the shadows. And over the years, those small exiles added up. You stopped expressing what you felt and started performing what was expected. You became who you needed to be to survive. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You agreed when everything in you said no. You hid your confusion behind competence, your pain behind productivity, your loneliness behind the illusion of "I'm fine." The world rewarded you for it. They called you strong, mature, dependable. You became the one who never broke down, never complained, never asked for help. But the truth is, you were already breaking, just silently, because the human soul can't breathe behind a mask. And every time you forced yourself to be okay, you tightened that mask a little more, until one day, you looked in the mirror and couldn't tell if you were the person looking back, or the persona you decreated to survive. Our culture worships that mask. It tells you that strength means silence, that emotions are weakness, that numbness is a kind of peace. So you learn to suppress instead of feel, to function instead of live, to smile instead of speak. But the body remembers, the mind remembers, the heart remembers everything you buried. The sadness you refuse to feel turns into fatigue. The anger you swallowed becomes self-hate. The dreams you abandoned return as anxiety in the middle of the night, and you call that weakness. You call it burnout, or failure, or being broken. But it's not. It's the sound of your soul trying to come back home. You see, this inner division, this split between who you are and who you show the world, didn't happen because you were fragile. It happened because you were strong enough to adapt. When you were a child, hiding your true self was survival. Silence kept you safe. Perfection kept you loved. The split wasn't your downfall, it was your defense. But what once kept you alive now keeps you lost. Because the more you hide, the less you exist. The more you silence yourself, the louder the emptiness becomes. And that's what you're feeling now, the weight of everything you buried, still trying to breathe. That exhaustion you can't explain, that quiet sadness that follows you. It's not proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that something inside you is still alive, still fighting to be felt. You became the mask and forgot the face beneath it. But the mask is cracking now, isn't it? The smiles are harder to fake. The small talk feels heavier. And somewhere deep inside, you can sense that the person you've been pretending to be is slowly running out of air. So when you find yourself crying without reason, or feeling disconnected from everything you once cared about, don't rush to fix it. Don't numb it. That pain is not your enemy. It's your signal. It's your truth knocking, asking to be remembered. This split inside you is not a failure of strength. It's the proof of how deeply you've loved, how fiercely you've tried to belong in a world that never taught you how to stay true to yourself. You survived by dividing, but you were never meant to stay divided. So if anything you've heard feels familiar, if it feels like I just described the life you've been living, I want you to share it. Leave a comment. Tell your story. Because sometimes, the first step toward becoming whole again is simply letting your truth be heard. Carl Jung once said that every human carries a hidden war inside them, a silent conflict between the persona and the shadow. The persona is the mask we show the world, polished, polite, controlled. The shadow is everything we've buried beneath it, the rage, the shame, the wildness, the unspoken desire. And for most of your life, those two selves have been at war. When you were young, you learned which version of you would be accepted. You realized that being honest about your emotions could cost you love. So you created a character, an actor perfectly tailored for approval. That's your persona, the social self, the version of you that knows how to smile at the right time, say the right thing, and keep everything that feels too real locked away. But what happens to everything you hide? Where does the anger go when you swallow it? Where does the sadness go when you refuse to cry? Where do the dreams go that you abandon because they didn't fit your role? They don't disappear. They fall into the unconscious, and that's where your shadow is born. The shadow is not evil. It's not the darkness you must destroy. It's the truth you were forced to deny. It's the part of you that says what you're afraid to say, that feels what you've been taught to suppress. And no matter how deep you bury it, it doesn't die. It waits. It watches. It leaks through in subtle ways, in anxiety, in irritation, in envy, in the strange sadness that lingers even when everything in your life looks fine. Jung warned that if you reject your shadow, it will take control from the dark. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Every pattern you can't seem to break, every relationship that repeats the same pain, every dream that haunts you, these are the fingerprints of your shadow trying to be seen. You've been taught to think your emotions make you weak. But what if your emotions are messages? Messengers from the parts of you that have been silenced for too long? What if that sadness is just grief for everything you never allowed yourself to feel? What if that anger is a sign that something sacred inside you has been violated? You think you're weak because you cry, because you doubt, because you can't keep pretending. But what if that's not a weakness? What if that's your shadow calling you back, asking to be heard, asking to be integrated? The world around you loves the persona. It rewards composure and discipline. It applauds when you hold yourself together, even if it's killing you inside. But Jung's insight was brutal. The more perfect your mask becomes, the more dangerous your shadow grows. Because every emotion denied in daylight becomes twice as powerful in the dark. You can't outthink it. You can't outrun it. The more you repress, the more it distorts. The more you control, the more it seeks to break free. That's why sometimes you lash out and don't know why. Why you sabotage things you claim to want. Why you're drawn to people who mirror your pain. Your shadow is not trying to hurt you. It's trying to complete you. It wants you to stop choosing between your light and your darkness, between your persona and your truth. Because the only real strength comes from integration, not perfection. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. It's when the mask finally falls and you no longer chase approval or play roles to survive. It is when you realize that true peace ascends to the absence of chaos. It has the ability to walk into it without losing yourself. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." He didn't mean become better, he meant become whole. To look into the chaos within you and create meaning out of it. To see your fear, your anger, your grief, not as enemies, but as raw materials for transformation. You can't be free by pretending to be pure. You can't be strong by staying numb. The power you seek lies in the very emotions you've spent your life running from. Because what you call weakness, the tears, the doubts, the cracks in your voice, are simply proof that your heart is still alive. This is the beginning of awakening, to stop fearing the parts of yourself that hurt. To stand before your shadow and say, "I see you." That's not collapse, it's courage. It's the first act of freedom. And when you finally have the courage to face that inner darkness, you stop being controlled by it. You stop being split. You become something rare, a human being who no longer hides behind masks, but lives from the wholeness of their truth. Now I want to hear from you. What part of yourself have you been afraid to face? What emotion have you labeled as weakness, when maybe it was your truth trying to rise? Leave your story in the comments. I'll be reading them, because sometimes writing your shadow into words is the first step toward bringing it into the light. The split between who we are and who we pretend to be, ISN theory. It is visible everywhere. You see it in faces that smile too easily, in voices that sound steady but feel empty underneath. The conflict between the persona and the shadow has become the invisible illness of modern life. Think about the woman who seems to have it all. Her life is perfectly arranged. The career, the confidence, the composure. People look at her and think, she made it. But when the world goes quiet, her body trembles with a sadness she can't explain. She's not unhappy because she failed. She's unhappy because she succeeded at becoming her mask. Every compliment calling her perfect cuts deeper, because perfection has become her prison. Then there's the man who never loses control. Everyone calls him strong, dependable, calm. He never yells, never cries, never falters. But his control is just fear dressed as discipline. He doesn't know how to feel without collapsing. His shadow hides in his stillness, whispering through insomnia, fatigue, and quiet resentment. He believes he's stable, but he's simply frozen. This is the tragedy we celebrate, a society that rewards repression. You're told that strength means silence, that emotions are weakness, that vulnerability ruins reputations. You learn to smile when you're in pain and to say you fine even when your soul is cracking. And the world applauds your composure, never realizing that what it praises is your disconnection. Social media magnifies it. Everyone experiences joy, confidence, and meaning. Every post is a stage, every caption a mask. We scroll through highlight reels of people pretending to be whole while quietly falling apart. It's not connection, it's comparison disguised as intimacy. And beneath the filters lies exhaustion, a collective loneliness that no number of likes can touch. Workplaces turn this performance into survival. Be professional. Don't take it personally. Translation: don't be human. You can show skill but not sadness, effort but not emotion. So you detach, perform efficiency, and call it strength. But the body keeps score. The weight in your chest, the headaches, the tension. These are the costs of pretending. We call it burnout, but it's really grief for the self you abandoned. Modern psychology confirms what Jung knew long ago: repression always returns. The more you suppress emotion, the stronger it becomes. The shadow doesn't vanish, it leaks. It appears in anxiety, addiction, and the sudden anger that feels out of place. You can medicate the symptoms, but the cause remains, the quiet war between who you are and who you show. You see it in relationships too. Two people meet, each wearing their persona, each showing the version most likely to be loved. They fall in love with illusions, not truth. And when the masks start to crack, so does the relationship. He calls her controlling. She calls him distant. But they're not fighting each other. They're fighting their own shadows, mirrored back at them. Every argument is an echo of an older wound. Until they face themselves, they can't see each other. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Yet most of us stop at irritation. We defend the mask, deny the mirror, and repeat the same stories with new people, new jobs, new cities. The faces change, the pattern doesn't. And this pattern doesn't just live in individuals, it shapes nations. Whole societies project their shadows outward. We demonize what we fear in ourselves, our own aggression, greed, vulnerability. We create enemies to avoid self-reflection. That's why history keeps repeating. Wars, oppression, hatred. It's not evolution that's missing, it's integration. Everywhere you look, the evidence is the same. Burnout, anxiety, loneliness. A world full of people succeeding outwardly while starving inwardly. We know how to build, how to produce, how to display, but we've forgotten how to be. We've mastered comfort and lost connection. Our technology grows smarter while our souls grow quieter. This is the true crisis of our time, not poverty of wealth, but poverty of wholeness. We keep treating the symptoms of separation instead of healing the source, the split within. But awareness changes everything. Once you see the mask, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize the pattern, the illusion begins to break. That's how awakening starts, not in light, but in honesty. If you see yourself in these stories, if you've felt this quiet war within, share it. Tell me in the comments. Because the moment you speak what's real, even softly, the mask begins to crumble, and the truth you buried finally starts to breathe again. Integration is not about killing the darkness. It's about learning to live with it, to walk beside it instead of against it. Healing begins not when you suppress your pain, but when you finally turn toward it and listen. For years, you've been told that peace means perfection, that light must destroy the dark. But Jung taught the opposite. Wholeness comes only when both sides are seen. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's the part of you that has been waiting the longest to be loved. There was once a woman who believed she was weak because she cried too easily. She apologized for every tear, thinking it made her less capable. But when she stopped fighting the sadness and allowed herself to feel, something shifted. Her pain didn't vanish, it softened. The moment she embraced it, the tears became strength. What she thought was fragility was actually courage, the courage to face herself without denial. And that's where real healing begins. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. It's not about creating a new self. It's about remembering the one that has always been there. It's the movement from fragmentation to unity, from survival to authenticity. When you individuate, you stop living for approval and start living from truth. You stop performing and begin existing. You finally live from the center of your being rather than the surface of your mask. But this path is not gentle. To integrate is to dismantle everything false. You'll meet the anger you buried, the grief you denied, the fear you numbed. You'll realize how much of your life was built on the need to be accepted. And when that illusion breaks, it hurts. Because every mask you remove exposes a wound you once covered to survive. Yet only through this discomfort can you return to yourself. Wholeness is born from honesty, not comfort. At first, it feels chaotic. You'll question who you are without your roles. You'll miss the false stability of your persona. But slowly, something miraculous happens. The war inside you begins to quiet. The inner critic softens. The guilt fades. You stop dividing yourself into good and bad, strong and weak. You realize both light and shadow belong to the same whole. Alan Watts once said, "The self is not something you find, it's something you remember. That remembrance is the beginning of rebirth." When you stop resisting your darkness, it transforms from a threat into wisdom. Every emotion becomes a messenger, every wound a teacher. The shadow that once terrified you now reveals what you truly need. Look at nature. Every forest grows from decay and light. Every ocean contains calm and storm. Every dawn depends on the night that came before it. You cannot separate creation from destruction, and you cannot become whole by choosing only what is pretty. Authenticity is the union of opposites. The goal was never to be pure, it was to be real. So how do you begin? Start small. When sadness appears, don't escape it. Ask it what it wants you to see. When anger arises, listen before you judge. Behind every emotion is a truth longing to be heard. Stop treating your feelings as problems. They are maps guiding you back to yourself. Healing doesn't mean you'll stop feeling pain. It means pain will no longer control you. You stop drowning in emotion and begin learning from it. You stop running from discomfort and start walking through it. You stop calling your wounds weakness and start seeing them as evidence that you survived. The pieces you rejected become part of your strength. Montaigne once wrote, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened." That's what awareness reveals. Most suffering is not reality, it's resistance. When you stop resisting, life begins to flow again. You stop clinging to control. You start trusting your own rhythm. Peace doesn't arrive through dominance, but through surrender. The quiet acceptance that you are already enough. Individuation is not a finish line. It's a lifelong dialogue with your soul. You will forget. You will fall back into patterns. But each time you return to awareness, you grow softer, clearer, more alive. Healing isn't a destination. It's the practice of remembering. And every time you choose honesty over performance, the pieces of you begin to reunite. Because healing is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of yourself, unmasked, unedited, whole. If this resonates, share your thoughts below. What part of you are you ready to reclaim? Which truth have you hidden for too long? Your story matters, because every time one person faces their shadow, the world becomes a little more conscious, and the collective heart moves one step closer to peace. You weren't weak, you were divided. Every breakdown, every sleepless night, every moment you thought you were falling apart was never proof of your failure. It was your soul trying to return to itself. The sadness wasn't punishment. The anxiety wasn't madness. It was communication, your deeper self begging to be remembered. For years you believed that strength meant endurance, that healing meant perfection. But now you see the truth. Real strength is gentler. It's the courage to feel. It's the willingness to stop pretending. You were never supposed to be unbreakable. You were meant to be whole. The person you became to survive deserves gratitude. That mask, that perfection, that control, it all kept you safe once, but you don't need it anymore. You can let it rest, because who you are underneath has never been weak. You've always been strong, not for enduring pain, but for allowing it to transform you. The journey back to yourself doesn't happen in a single revelation. It unfolds quietly in the way you breathe, the way you speak, the way you begin to trust silence again. It happens when you stop running from your reflection, when you can finally look into your own eyes and see not shame, but truth. Not flaws, but fragments of a soul learning to love itself back into wholeness. Every tear you've cried was sacred. Every failure was a bridge leading you here. And now, for the first time, you can stand in the center of your being, imperfect, human, complete, and know that you are enough. You are not what happened to you. You are not the roles you played. You are not the voice that says you're broken. You are the awareness behind it all, watching, waiting, remembering. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's what you've done here. By daring to see your darkness, you have already begun to shine. Light and shadow are not opposites. They are dance partners. Together they create depth, contrast, and meaning. Without the night, there is no sunrise. So breathe. Feel the quiet weight of this moment. You don't need to fix anything right now. You just need to be here, fully present, fully human. Because this stillness, this awareness, this peace you feel when you stop fighting yourself, is what true strength looks like. Let the old self fall away gently. Let the mask slip. You are safe now. You don't need to earn worthiness anymore. You only need to remember it. You were never lost, only asleep, and now you are waking up. Wholeness doesn't mean the end of pain. It means that when pain comes, you no longer mistake it for weakness. You see it as movement, as growth, as life doing what it must. Because everything that breaks you is also reshaping you. Every ending is a return. Every silence is a beginning. And the moment you stop resisting what you are, you begin to see that you were never broken, only divided. So from now on, when you feel yourself slipping, don't say, "I'm falling apart." Say, "I'm coming back together," because that's the truth of it. Integration isn't about becoming new. It's about coming home, and that is what true strength looks like. If this message touched something in you, stay a little longer with it. Don't rush back into the noise. Let it echo for a moment. Because awareness, when allowed to sink in, becomes transformation. If you found meaning in this, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so when the next piece arrives, you'll be among the first to hear it. And before you leave, tell me in the comments what part of this journey resonated with you most. Was it a sentence, a realization, a feeling? Your reflection might be the light someone else needs to find their way home.